Good afternoon. Okay, I made it back to the shop. So I've already removed the pickup tube and the oil screen. I sprayed a little carburetor cleaner in here just to clean it off a little bit. It doesn't really matter. So we are going to check the clearance on the main cap bearings. Went to my local Napa and I got some plastic gauge, and we are going to check the clearances before I pull the cam out, and then I'll probably check the clearances on each individual rod cap as well. So I'm going to adjust the camera so you can see the bolts have already been pre-loosened, so it wouldn't take long to get going. So let's get going. And I'm going to do these one at a time, and so I can put them back in the position that they were in and do it correctly. Okay, I'm looking and my IH emblem is facing to the front on this one. It's got one dot, the cylinder is 2 and the back one is 3, and they all have L's on them pointing to the oil filter side, so we're good. So as long as I remember that, I'm okay. Ooh. Okay. I got a little spot on the cam. So anyway, I might just have to have the crank, not cam, sorry, have the crank polished. Bearing looks pretty good. Stick it up here so you can see it. Bearing looks pretty good. So we're gonna clean this off and put a little piece of plastic gauge on here and see what our clearance is. Okay. All right, these are clean. Let me set this right here. All right, put my piece of plastic gauge right there on the main crank, and this is going to be torqued to 55 foot-pounds. Okay, so 55 foot-pounds. Okay, I'm at 55. I'm going to lock it in, and let's see. And double check myself. Okay. Now, I'm gonna break this loose. Well, I thought it was. Okay, and the accepted clearance is 2 to 3 thousandths. And we're gonna, it's stuck to the crank, so we're gonna measure it. So, 3 thousandths. All right, so we are, that's 2 thousandths. So we're a little less than 3 thousandths, so we are in clearance. But we're gonna see if, and see what the rest of the bearing journals look like on this cam, because, sorry, I did it again, it's a crank. I'm thinking too much. Anyway, I'm gonna check the rest of the bearing journals on here. This one looks like it has a little mark in it and it can be polished out. So, we're gonna go ahead and put this bearing cap back on for the time being. And we're gonna do number 2. Make sure I'm there. Okay, that looks to be about the same. So, now that's a little over. Actually, I'm sorry, I read it wrong. We're 2 thousandths on this one. So pause here and double check that one and I'll be back. Okay, we're back. Let me get this last main cap off and we'll check it. And then I'll go over what I found. I went back and checked this one again. This one is actually right at 2 to 3 thousandths. That's the maximum clearance. This one is at like 1.5 thousandths. So this one is good. This one is borderline. I may have to step up to the next bearings. So let me see what this one says. Or what this one reads. And then we'll go from there. I can feel a little bit of a, oh yeah, got a groove on this one, so I might as well just going to have this crank polished and try to get that groove out. I'm going to have to get some new bearings, so we're not going to worry with measuring this one. We know the crank's got to be polished. I'm going to check the bearing journals for the rods, and then we'll know exactly what we have to do. So I'm gonna pause for right now and stuff. But anyway, okay, this way, I'm looking at the camera a little bit more professional, yeah. Anyway, this one was at, this main bearing journal was at 1.5 thousandths clearance. This one was right at 3 thousandths, which is the maximum tolerance of clearance or maximum allowance of clearance. This one here, like I said, it's got a groove started right there. It's not bad, but this has to be polished anyway. So I'm just going to go ahead and get all the main bearing journals polished, and I'm going to check the caps, the bearing caps for the rods. So that's pretty much where I'm at for this part of it. So I'm going to stop it here, and when I get ready to do the bearing caps for the rods, I'll turn the camera back on and we'll measure those. So anyway, stay tuned for that. And that shouldn't be but just a few minutes. Like I said, I just got to get everything organized and ready to do those. So stay tuned. All right, I've already got the nuts off of here, off the studs, and the rest of them are loose. We're going to check this first one and see if we can get it off. So what I'm gonna do is just lightly tap the screws, or the studs rather, and then tap it, piston back up. Okay, now let's see if we can get that out of there. Okay, got a pry bar right here. Let's see. Try not to score the bearings. See if I can catch it here. There we go. Well, I'll show this to you. It's scored. Right there you can see it. So I'm gonna have to just get this whole crank ground, and we'll go from there. So let me see if I can get it out. See if this is 10 over or if it's a stop ground, or, well, let me clean it off. You can see it. So I'm going to measure it, and this works the same way as I did the main journal bearings. A piece of plastic gauge in there and just tighten it down to, I think this one is 16 foot-pounds. 16 foot-pounds. And then you got 2 to 3 thousandths clearance. So after looking at this, pretty much just going to have the whole crank resurfaced. So, but I'm gonna check everything else. Okay, well, that's gonna be it for the video today, because like I said, I showed you how to check the clearance in the bearings with the main journals. It's the same process for this. I will write everything down that I find, and we'll go from there. So, all right, so that's it. Just a little quick video. Well, not quick, it's a few minutes, but anyway, when you put these back in, make sure that these line up. You have marks on the side that they go exactly back in the way. The letters here will line up on each side. So it'll be one on the cap and one on the rod. So make sure you put those back on the same side and you'll be okay. All right, so that's it. Appreciate you tuning in for this one. I'm sorry that I didn't get to go as far as I wanted to, but I'm gonna go ahead and measure everything off camera, and then when I get ready to measure the actual journals on the crank, I'll do a little video on that, show you how to measure the journals, make sure they're not out of round, and then I'll show you how to measure the inside of the bearings for the rods. You put them back together and tighten them up, and then you can measure what they're supposed to be, set your inside bore, which is why I bought those, and then you just spin it and see if it's egg shaped, and if it's not, you're good. If it is, then it can become a little bit more money. So, but it doesn't matter. All right, well, thanks again for tuning in. I'm gonna finish this up off camera and probably finish disassembling this block and go cook supper. So have a great weekend, and we'll see you on the next video.